Okay. All right. I think that's good there. Right on, dude. Thanks again for the hand. That's like the stupidest little thing that I didn't even think about fixing.
No problem.
Right on. All right. All right. Now let's check to make sure you're still here when we turn up the desktop audio. All right. Hey, Coolio, can you give me a quick test really quick?
Test.
Thank you, sir. One moment. That's incorrect. What is going on?
Ooh, what's incorrect?
I turn off the, Oh, wait. That's why. Stop audio. We'll just do it this way for now. We'll do the radio next time. Not a big deal. All right.
Oh, was there something that was going to be on the radio, or do you have it? Well,
I was gonna. What I was gonna do was I was gonna play the Spotify radio, like, you know, just have something like low and chill, like on the side, you know, for people to listen to. But it's whatever. But that's something I can fuck with another day. Like we've been sitting here troubleshooting for so long, and I feel so terrible. But
is that? Do you have one of those? Just out of curiosity, is it one of those situations where you have some separate thing streaming? So like, when the stream gets saved, it doesn't actually save the second.
Oh yeah, I don't have a video on demand on right now.
Oh well, that's not even. No, that's not. Okay. Well, that's true.
That's why I meant it's not saving any of my streams right now. Is that what you're
well,
asking?
I guess it does answer the question because it makes the I guess so.
Okay.
There is like something, and the reason I'm weird about it is because I have no idea. It's something that someone has explained to me that they were trying to set up, but they had something where, I don't know. I guess they had another layer of audio that's on the stream when it's live, but anything that gets saved or clipped or whatever, it's not actually on the stream. I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen that stuff before, and that's what I was trying to initially do with this mod that I picked up, because it straight up picks up, and instead of having just like the desktop audio separate, you can separate individual audio from individual programs that you have.
Yes.
So yeah, but yeah, one of these days I'll have to mess with that. But okay, and let's do the quick wipe. Hey, there I am. Yeah, that was quite the adventure.
What happened?
Just the adventure of like getting to where we are right now was just hilarious.
Yeah, how did we get here?
Well, so as far as I understand, there was a big explosion, which but no, no, I meant like I'm actually like able to stream and chat and like not have any more issues with the screen stuff. So, but yeah, again, thanks again, dude. That worked out really well. So yeah, did you want do you want to get started with the weird stuff?
Let's do the weird stuff. Yes.
All right, let's do the weird stuff. So
they said that Captain Hammer said that Captain Hammer's fans do the weird stuff. Remember?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Captain Hammer.
Oh, you're not?
No, I'm not.
You know what? That's fine. That's fine.
I can
you know
dig, though.
We'll skip that one. It's okay. We don't need to get into that one, actually. Who were we? Yeah, the hammer is his penis. I wonder, I was someone, we were talking about someone. Yeah, anyway. That's all you need to know, that last part. Yeah.
That's good enough for me, boss.
Yeah. It was being discussed on stream recently at some point.
That's so Mr. Hammer. Okay, I don't think I've ever heard of that one. God, what was it? But yeah, so again, for anybody just catching up, and sorry for all the off and ons and probably the million notifications of going live. I sincerely apologize. So today we're going to be doing our general discussion of weird stuff that either has happened within our daily lives, or just something that we found on the internet. Like it's kind of an open forum to just discuss weird crap. So yeah, and today we just so happen to have some. We discussed earlier in the week that we had some personal stories to share of some really weird things that had occurred to us.
Yeah, do we have? Is that what today is? Today, do we each have a story?
Today is shared in. So, but yeah, like I said, like what I had discussed with Kuya earlier, where I recently found out like a weird suicide/murder mystery within the family. So that would be a very interesting thing to discuss. Because I'm kind of in the process of trying to understand it, and then I know Kuya, you said you had a pretty interesting story.
I got a story. I got one. I got one.
You know what, boss? I'm absolutely about it. So I was gonna say, please, after you, I would love to hear what the story is.
Okay. Unfortunately, you know what? I don't understand why the Four Kings are being so cruel to me. I don't think they're supposed to be that this mean. I feel like I have leveled up. I feel like I have performed with great aplomb against all of the bosses I've approached so far, and something is out of whack. Alright, I guess we're gonna start at the beginning.
Yeah.
When I was very young, this tale begins maybe at around the early 90s.
Right on.
I'm from New England. We snow skied as a family. That was a family activity. We would. You ever snow ski?
I never went skiing, but I lived in a town full of people that absolutely love skiing in a place that constantly snows. So
yeah.
But my folks were fairly middle to lower middle class, so we never went skiing. We'd go sledding all the time, but yeah, no skiing.
It's a pretty wacky thing to do as a family vacation or just as a pastime to begin with. I could sit here and talk about snow skiing for a while. There's these horrible rickety metal chairs that hang from cables that go across gorges and through the sky.
Seen those things, yeah.
And then you have to ski off of them. Anyway, so we would go to a place. We're gonna call it Bermuda.
Cool.
We went to Bermuda, New Hampshire. There was a house we would always rent in Bermuda, New Hampshire. I was the story begins, let's say I'm 10. I got some siblings. Yeah. My parents are young. They've got some friends. Their friends have got children. This house that we went to in Bermuda, New Hampshire, it was constantly full of children. And I have a lot of so I have some weird formative memories of this house and the stuff that happened there. I'm gonna there's gonna be some tangents to this story. So here's one of them. Fine. I remember there was one night where there was a big panic, and it was because all of the children had wandered off into the woods, and I guess one of the older kids had decided that we were gonna. There's you could see a cliff along the road between the house we were staying at and the actual ski resort. And like, he was like, we're gonna walk through the woods and we're gonna get to that cliff. And we did. And we got there at like twilight, and it was really a spectacular view. And then we found out that our parents had all been freaking out and like calling the police and being very upset that we were all lost in the woods. When we came wandering out of the woods, it was a big disaster. Anyway, someone committed suicide in that house by diving. I guess, I mean, maybe I'll just do one big... I do not know how much of this story is apocryphal. As this story progresses, I don't know how much of this is made up. I will say I heard this part from this person if it becomes relevant. A man dove headfirst into the jacuzzi, into the hot tub, with the intention of ending his life, and he succeeded. So there was a whole bunch of... There were a whole bunch of incidents, as you can imagine. There were a bunch of children in and out of the house, a bunch of different adults in and out of the house. There was always someone came home. Every time someone, for some reason, went to the house at lunchtime or something to grab something and no one else was there, something scary happened, a door slammed, or a picture fell off the wall, you know, stuff like that was going on.
Jeez.
And everyone, you know, and it was a big... But we stayed at this house all the time. Like every winter we had like 1 or 2 vacations where we stayed at this house over the weekend. With this guy's ghost, I guess. I think there may have been I feel like my aunt had like a really good one where like the door to the hot tub had been like left open, and it as she like walked past it, like definitely slammed and, you know, scared the shit out of her. So she was like, that was definitely the man, you know. So there were a few incidents that were definitely the man, but it was just a generally haunted house. And what a horrible...
I love that he's called the man. That's so good.
Yeah, it was the man. Do you think it was the man? Oh, I know it was the man. I swear to God. That. I swear to God. Do you think it was the man? Yes. Okay. So...
That's so good.
So that's all very terrible.
Yeah.
And that was, you know... There was also another thing that happened, which is that this might have been the last time. In fact, this was when I'm the oldest of the children in my family. Mm-hmm. This was at the point where I was old enough that I wanted to stay home and hang out with my high school friends over the weekend, right?
Yeah.
So at one point when I was 15 or 16, the family went up there, and there was a pickup truck parked in, like, you know, off on the road, but it was parked in the front yard of the house that we would stay at. And it was parked there the whole weekend while they were there. And when they came home later on, it turned out that pickup truck that had been parked there all weekend contained a corpse. So the house was just extra cursed at that point, and that was the last. And we stopped renting that particular house. I don't know. Well, we'll get to who owned it. We'll get to how. I'm not sure. It was, you know, it wasn't a friend of my parents. It was a friend of one of their friends, right?
That's so good. Dang, man. Holy moly.
Several years ago, I moved into this house.
Mm-hmm.
This house has had its share of strange stories and odd things that have happened. And I mentioned to you yesterday that I've got some neighbors. Like, the neighbors to the left and the right of me are really cool. I'm friends with them, and they both smoke pot.
Heck yeah.
Again, hopefully, like I said yesterday, my neighbors do not listen to my stream. I don't know. I mean, I don't think they would mind if that. But anyway, here we go. So one time,
Dish.
One time the door. Well, yeah, I guess the first time she was here. This turned into basically, yeah. Once the first time she was here, I was like, the rule became, sorry, no thank you, we can't right now, I can't let you in right now. Anyway, an elderly woman came in through the front door one midnight. She was dressed in bed clothing, a nightgown. And this was actually this was right after I had moved in, so I was new in the neighborhood. And she started to tell me how she wanted, and she was in a nightgown, and she was in bare feet, and she should not have been out at like 11:45 p.m. And she started inviting me to her 4th of July party that she was having at her house. And I was like, okay, yeah, maybe. And that was very normal. But then as she started telling me about the party that they were going to have, she kind of just started telling me about the neighborhood and, whatever. And that was fine and relatively normal. But then she started opening the cabinets and like taking things out of the cabinets. And she found a jar of peanuts and she was eating these peanuts as she spoke. And so after telling me about the 4th of July party, she started telling me about this woman named Penelope. In fact, this whole story is called the Penelope story.
Penelope story, I like that.
She started telling me about Penelope, who her husband had a crush on, almost married Penelope. She started asking me which of my glasses that she had put on the kitchen counter she could take with her. And she picked up one that has drink recipes printed along the outside of it. And she was like, well, I cannot bring this home because if I bring this home, my husband will think that I'm drinking again. So she started to go into the story of how she was a drinker, and also about Penelope, who had caught her husband's interest, and who many times in her she remembered an incident where her husband had bought a new car, and then Penelope had called him on the phone the same day, and she knew. Anyway, I'm getting this might be the most uncomfortable part. Really, the Penelope part is the part I wouldn't want my neighbors to hear me. Just no, it's not. So, let's see what else. So I have a swing set. There were children that lived here before me. There's a swing set in the front yard. So she said, since I'm having the 4th of July party, I'm going to have my husband come down. She had a bunch of other things that were mine at this point as well. She had a flashlight because I wanted her to be able to get home. And a couple other things. She had the peanuts were going with her, and she had some of my glasses and stuff. And she said that she was going to send her husband in the morning, and he was going to dig the swing set out of the ground and bring it to her house for her party. And I bid her on her way. Well, first of all, she was like, I'm just going to my husband's going to come and we'll just carry that to my house. And I was like, that's in concrete, in the ground. And she was like, I'll have him dig it up and use the pickup truck. We'll bring it over to my house for my party.
No worries.
Yeah, totally. So she walked off into the night, and I telling the story now, I should have not let her walk off into the night maybe, but she did. And nothing bad happened. That's not, if you're waiting for the twist, it's not that. She was fine.
Yeah.
But I did talk to my father, who knows some of the neighbors, and I told him this story about how she had said all of those things, and about how her husband did not want her to bring alcohol drinking cups back to the house, and how her husband was, and I said, maybe her husband's gonna come and dig up the swing set today. And my father said, well, I don't think he's going to do that because he has been dead for quite some time.
Oh my gosh.
So that was the punchline for that. My dad also, around, sometime shortly after that little incident, because my dad does some work with some of the neighbors around here.
Right.
And he talked to one other neighbor who told a story about how on New Year's Eve, that woman had approached the children's bedroom window in the middle of the night and had tapped on the bedroom window of the children on New Year's Eve, and how she had left him a nasty note full of curses. I'm so glad I did not receive that, because I would feel supernaturally cursed. I still kind of do. So my dad also, he ended up hiring a mason for something at one. He was, building something, he needed some stonework.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mason also was, a friend of the guy next door who the woman had tapped on the window. So they all kind of knew, he knew the whole story about everything. And he had kind of mentioned that. And, the Mason goes, yeah. And, I used to, you wouldn't even believe, I used to vacation in, what did I say? Bermuda, New Hampshire?
Yes.
The Mason is saying this.
Oh my gosh.
And he goes...
Go on.
All right. Okay. Oh my fuck. It's hard. I can't even fucking believe it.
I love it. This is so good.
My dad's like, oh man, my family that's great. Did you ski at the resort that's up there? And the guy was like, yeah, we rented this, but this is what's fucked up. I rented a house from this family, the family that, of this lady.
What's up, Pigeon? yeah.
And they worked it, and my dad realized it was the same house when the man said her son fucking killed himself by jumping into the hot tub. The woman, so the punchline, just to be clear, is that the woman that walks up and down my street to this day, that haunts this house that I live in now, is the mother of the man that haunted me as a tiny child. Like, in days so far gone that I barely remember, that I have no idea. I barely remember that house or anything that has to do with it. It's been a part of my life the entire time. And here we are, and that's the story that I brought today. The Penelope story.
Oh my
I gotta get a drink because I just said too many words, so I'll be right back.
I know, I was gonna say I'm gonna step away for a moment.
Yeah, let's digest that.
Yeah, digest that for a moment.
An afternoon snacky?
Everybody got their snackies?
I feel like I fed them an afternoon snacky. Yes, you had the salmon and beef. Look at them all passed out.
Aw. Right on. And just a really quick, like weird old lady story, because that thing just blew me away. That Penelope story was so good. I love that.
Thank you.
That was some wild stuff.
That's what I have brought this week.
That's a good one. So again, the old weird old lady story. So on my stepfather's side of the family, it's my stepfather's father's wife's mother. Very weird, distant lady. Basically, like, big old honking, like, southern family. And there's this, like, basically the leader of the group is this older woman named Meemaw. And Mima.
Yeah, Mima.
Oh, there's a Mima. And quite frankly, you don't fuck with Mima.
No, you do not.
No.
You surely you do not do that.
And mind you, she was a sweet old lady, and she was from New Orleans. So she, besides the fact that she was, sweet as pie, would give you the shirt off her back, she drank like a fish. She partied hardy, and she also believed in a lot of voodoo and kind of weird like spiritualism kind of things. And one particularly weird thing that my mother happened to tell me about was Mima had this like old refrigerator that she had for like ever, and she just kept getting it refurbished. And so one day there was like a big family party, and when you go and you visit like the family for the party and Mima is there, you talk to her immediately. No playing. Like you don't want to go anywhere else before talking with Mima. So some new dude was introduced to the family, somebody's boyfriend.
You better not try that shit.
Oh yeah, right. And of course this.
You don't show Mima the shoulder.
Oh no, and he's unawares, completely, has no clue, and all of a sudden, like Mima's sitting next to my mother. She taps my mother, and she could barely speak too, so she started like pretending to scribble on her hand. And my mom's like, what? You want a piece of paper? And she shook her head, and then she's like, making a sign for a pen. Oh, you want a pen too? Gives her a pen and a piece of paper, and she writes down this guy's name, and then she points to her refrigerator. And my mother was absolutely confused. She's like, I don't understand, Mima. What do you want me to do with this piece of paper? And all of a sudden, one of the other family members comes up and goes, what's going on? And she's like, well, Mima like wrote this guy's name down on a piece of paper, and she wants me to do something with it, and pointed to the fridge. And this woman's eyes like bulge out of her head, and she goes, Mima, that's terrible. Don't do that to him. And it turns out that Mima, again being so into voodoo, she apparently believed that refrigerator had a particular curse, that if you were to put the name of a person on that refrigerator, that person would have bad things happen, and bad things have happened to people.
Wow.
Like straight.
Like, you had to stop her? You had to stop Mima from cursing someone?
Apparently somebody in the family had to stop Mima from cursing somebody. Wow. I know, man. And it's like an SCP. It blew my mind.
Haunted, cursed refrigerator. Don't put your name on it.
Cursed refrigerator. Yeah. Like, oh, it was so good. It was so good. I could not believe I had heard that story from my mother. But like, yeah, those Southern voodoo spiritualist folk are very particular about their stuff. And if you cross them, man, you're in trouble. And like, again, like I don't believe in anything, but like, I just know better to stay away from that. Like, again, whether it's the nature, the karma of the universe somehow, some way, but that, yeah, I don't fuck with that. But yeah, like I guess I'll go into the main interesting story of the day, which was brought up to me by my grandmother. Basically, the main origin of my family's history is within my great grandmother and my great grandfather, my oma and my opa. They're my great grandmother was a German. Great grandfather was a U.S. Army soldier in World War II. They ended up meeting in the Schwarzwald and fell in love, and that's another cute story I'll share for another day because that's just funny. But they have 3 kids. That's my grandmother, my uncle Rolf, and my aunt Denise. Now, so Denise like later in her life, I'm trying to remember what age she was at, but she basically she was a very beautiful woman, and she definitely liked uh running after dudes, and apparently she had a very bad habit of running after cops.
Oh.
Oh yeah. Mm. She loved a man in uniform, unfortunately,
right.
according to family sources, and so
according to your sources.
Yeah. According to sources, my mother particularly reminded me remembered a time that she was in the car with Denise, and it was her and her son in the car, my uncle, and it was wild, man. So I guess, like, it was a officer who had it was like a friend of an officer who she had dated, and he had pulled her over with no probable cause or reason. Oh. And it was and this apparently happened quite frequently and often. She consistently got pulled over, solely just being messed with by the cops, and they didn't even have any reason to pull her over. Didn't want speeding, didn't do an illegal lane change, nothing. So it eventually came down to, and again, there's a lot of speculation coming up to this point, but my Aunt Denise decided that she wanted to go move to California. She was going to take her kid, my uncle Chris, and so she decided that she was going to go out there first, start looking for a gig, find a house, and come back and get him. What had occurred was she left him with my great grandparents, and she went out to California, and she said she'd be back within a month. It was like, the week, and she said she would call every single week. Week 1, she calls back, everything's cool. Week 2, she calls and says this very weird thing, if something happens to me, make sure you take care of Chris, right? And my opa's like, yeah, absolutely, like, but nothing's gonna happen. What do you mean? And the following week, they get a call, and she had passed, and the police said that well, again, this was this is all speculative within the family, is that they said that she committed suicide, but she I'm trying to think, I was saying this, she committed suicide, yet they wouldn't give back any of the personal effects or the car that she had driven out to California with.
Oh,
as far as my grandmother remembers,
not?
They did not release any of her stuff back to the family. And I thought that was a very strange thing to do. And again, this is, solely from, their word. I don't necessarily know. And again, my Oma and my Opa, quite frankly, both by the time I was born, were like basically well on their way towards Alzheimer's. And besides the fact that they wanted to, forget the loss of their daughter, they generally didn't talk about Denise. If they talked about Denise, oh, what a sweet girl. Yeah. And they would leave it at that. And it was also suggested that my aunt was possibly mentally ill, that she possibly had bipolar disorder, if not schizophrenia. And again, back in this is 1975, excuse me, I should probably set the tone here. So they've been slowly making the advances towards decent care for mental health, but it's still not quite there, and let alone the recognizing of it, giving the support for people with those illnesses was not quite there yet either. So, and it also comes to suggest that possibly within that time that my Oma was a very smart woman. She was very well read, that she kind of made her own diagnosis and did it to kind of, settle it herself within her mind. That she was, not quite there. So that was okay, sort of thing. And not to say that that's okay, but that was her reasoning, I believe. And for years, the family was always told that she had died in a car accident. And it was possibly around the time that my great grandfather passed that the word was getting around in the family about how she had passed. And so, and I was kind of settled in it. Like, you know, I understood, like, you know, that you know, that's the end of it, done, over with. Like, you know, that's a very sad story, but, you know, press on. And then I was actually like doing some video editing, and my grandmother had walked into her closet, and she pulled out this old photo of her, and she's starting to hit the big A too, you know.
Okay.
Alzheimer's. Yeah. So yeah. I'm trying to get as much as I can understand before she, you know, before she starts going, because I remember, you know, the way that my Oma and my Opa went. So I want to make sure that, like, you know, I can get what I can while I can, because once that hits, it's pretty rough. You're not getting any information back. So, you know, I began asking her about things, and if anything, like, doing that type of stuff is also really good for Alzheimer's patients to kind of offset everything. You know, if you make them try to remember, it really does help. So, you know, she starts, you know, recalling all these things, and particularly the murder aspect was really fascinating to me, because you know, she's telling me about when she saw her, you know, laid out, she didn't see any bullet wounds, and, you know, there is the probability of, you know, the shot in, you know, in the mouth to the back of the head, but it's not, again, you would probably still see some, they probably wouldn't even probably keep the casket open at that point because of the open wound. So, but again, I don't know how heavy duty everything was, but she said she saw no wounds on her. Nothing was wrong. They were told that it was a gunshot wound, but again, she didn't see anything. Excuse me. And probably one of the very, very strangest things that she had told me that I thought was really, and again, like, you know, it's not the end all be all with this sort of a speculation or what have you, but she apparently was left-handed, and she had shot herself with her right hand, according to whatever she had remembered. And again, not that that's necessarily, you know, disproving anything.
Right.
You know, Kurt Cobain uses, you know, his big toe. Like, you know, you can, you know, if there's a means, there's a way, unfortunately. So it's kind of opened up a lot of speculation in my head, and I've had a lot of, like, little family mysteries that I've kind of had to solve, you know, for my own personal life. Like, I didn't meet my father until I was like 19, which was yeah. And I basically went out and made the search myself. After I had found him, I had a long lost adopted sister who was put up for adoption when my mom was 14. She had her very, very young, and you know, again, you know, the shame of a young mother and everything else. So she unfortunately had to, you know, give her up, and, you know, she went to a very loving family and a very, very sweet family. I've talked to them on multiple occasions. Very, very nice. So, yeah, I basically, like, you know, knocked heads with a lot of really ridiculous, you know, convoluted stupidness within my family. And this is just another, like, interesting layer that I kind of want to unravel. It was just something weird and interesting that I thought would kind of I don't know. I'm actually gonna go to the funeral home where they had her open casket sometime next week. Yeah, we're like as much as Grandma's starting to lose it, she's like gun ho, like, you know, Criminal Minds this shit. She was the one who actually suggested, you know what, we should go over to the funeral home and, you know, talk to them. And then I'm like, wow, Grandma, yeah, way to go. But yeah, because I didn't know where she had her funeral at. So yeah, so we're gonna be doing that next week. And then she also had this very interesting concept of, you know, going out to California where she passed.
Yeah.
Getting a look around.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I mean, what would even be the
probably
same?
nothing. Exactly.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. Oh, and the other interesting things that I figured out about, or I found out about this case was, so she was found in a hotel, and she was by herself, and so for one, 75 was a pretty hot era in California. I mean, for especially pertaining to the rise of serial killers at that time.
Oh sure.
I mean, so I'm thinking about all those cats. So, so that's one interesting thing. For the other thing, she's by herself in a hotel room. A lot of officers, for one, would basically call that, like, she's like, she's running herself out of the hotel, if you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
like, and quite frankly, what they don't exactly want to actually consider somebody within the sex industry to be a person, so they poo-poo that a lot. So, but she wasn't. She was a waitress. She was trying to, and again, I don't even know if that was the case. Then fucking cops, why didn't you say anything? Cops, why haven't you released her personal effects? Cops, why haven't you given us a report? So, and again, this is from my understanding from my grandmother, and she's starting to misremember a couple of things.
Yeah.
But again, the left hand right hand thing was the thing that kind of really it kind of made a little click in my head. That, like, it's not the end all be all, but that is particularly interesting and strange.
That's something is a little weird. Yeah.
It gives a lot of
Well, that is, yeah.
So yeah, so
that's the name of the show.
So yeah, that was definitely quite weird. But yeah, man, like, so probably sometime during the summer, I'm gonna try and figure this out. That'd be a fun little thing to keep my mind going.
Grandma murder mystery adventure.
Grandma murder, like, she's gonna think she's Angela Lansbury or some shit.
I'm into it. I mean, it's terrible. It's a terrible story. But wow, I wonder what family mysteries I can dig up. Yeah, other than the man.
I think, like, seriously, that half of the story has to be called The Man.
The Man, yeah. It's seriously, that's what his name was.
That's so good.
He wasn't the ghost, he was the man.
It's not like the ghost of whoever died here.
Yeah.
Like, when you said The Man, I got chills.
I saw the man.
Because I also went, like, directly into what was it? Johnny Cash, When the Man Comes to Town.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
When the man comes to town.
Oh yeah. Dawn 04.
Oh jeez, man. It's so good. Right on.
That movie?
Oh no. I didn't hear that. What movie was that?
Oh, Dawn 04.
Dawn 04. Oh, and I'm not. Oh,
Dawn of the Dead 2004.
Yeah, that was a good flick. No, I'll back that up. No, I meant the tune, but yeah, I love.
But yeah. Well, that tune is. I'm pretty sure that's the opening. I could. You know what? I might just not be saying anything right now.
No. That is something. Ooh. I mean, I'm thinking about it. Like,
I think that's the opening tune to that movie.
That's a good flick, man. That was a really good flick.
So at some point we're gonna get Pete and maybe some other people, and we're gonna watch Wax somewhere in a Discord and do some commentary, and I'll let people know beforehand.
Right on,
we'll figure it out. We'll figure out when we can make plans with him.
Oh yeah, no worries. And again, like, if Wax doesn't work for this week, I actually to give a preview of next week, I've been oh God, what is his name? There was a really disturbing Japanese game show that I had found. And it's absolutely like, you know, you hear about all the weird, bizarre Japanese game shows, like where you have like the J-pop idols like trying to blow like a cricket in a tube at each other's mouths and things like that. Like there's all sorts of really weird game shows in Japan.
Yes.
But this one in particular was particularly sad. It involved a young comedian who all he wanted was just to be famous. He just wanted to, you know, have his name out there. And basically he gets taken into he wins this like little game show, which basically they said if you win this little like, you know, game show, then you get to go on to do a live TV show where you get to become absolutely famous. Next thing this guy knows is he's being blindfolded and dragged to he's getting dragged to an apartment, and when they take off the blindfold from him, he realizes that there's a magazine stand, a sink, a cooking area, and a table with a whole bunch of postcards on it. And he's told that he has to gain everything, everything from food to supplies to, like, you know, eating utensils. Anything that he obtains, he has to get from doing mail-in contests and magazines.
Okay. That sounds terrible.
And what's even worse is the man was forced to strip down absolutely naked and do this.
They were like, "That's it. You gotta order. You gotta live off of the magazines, even the internet, or just."
He doesn't know. This was no, they didn't have.
This was long ago.
This was like in the 90s, I believe. Like 94, 95, if I'm correct. But like, yeah, they didn't really have much internet. But no, this dude didn't have access to anything. He couldn't even see his folks. And he basically was made to do this whole setup like 2 to 3 different times, basically. Like, he basically was told, oh yeah, you won the game show, and then they put him in another room. Like,
wow.
Dude, it's a fucked up story, and it's super fascinating.
Straight up, we're keeping him in a human zoo.
Yes. So this dude's name was Nasubi, which means eggplant, because his head apparently looked like an eggplant. I don't see that, but whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, if Wax doesn't work out for next week, we can like maybe like whenever you have time, we'll sit down and watch. We'll watch the what was it, Atrocity Guides. By the way, big shout out to Atrocity Guides. We'll watch Atrocity Guides video.
Awesome.
It is very in depth, super good, and then we'll watch like an episode of him actually, because they do have him online still on YouTube. We'll watch an episode or two if you want of like Nasubi goofing around and doing his appreciation dance when he wins a contest. It's a rough story.
Well, all right.
Man. Right on. But yeah, man. I was gonna say that I think that was pretty much the topic for the day. Did you want to hang out a little bit longer? Did you have any other topics you wanted to throw in, or?
I don't know if I have much else.
Yeah.
Was there? Yeah, other than Wax and whatever is going on next.
Oh, and the Nasubi. Yeah, that's gonna be. I'll throw you that video if you want. You can watch it on your own time, or we can watch it together, dude. But it's totally worth learning about. It's a mind blower that Japan, I think it was NHK through that show. So I'm surprised the NHK isn't like, you know, getting human rights violations placed on them, basically.
Oh, they didn't care in like the 80s and 90s. That was, you were allowed to violate people's human rights then.
Yeah. unfortunately. But like, just jeez Louise, like again, the man had like a fairly normal build when he went into the apartment to begin with, and then he walked out like a string bean. Like, the guy starved. I don't mean to laugh at that. It just makes me so upset that I have to laugh. Like, it's infuriating. I really do feel for that dude. But yeah, we'll go into that next week. But yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna probably be hanging out and grabbing some Cuphead for a little bit. But I didn't know if you had anything going on in your stream that you needed to go take care of, or if you needed to take off.
I think it is about time for me to cook.
Right on.
But I'm glad we worked out some of your OBS stuff, and I'm glad we got to have a chat and do this because we haven't in a while. And
absolutely.
Yeah. So definitely. I mean, we'll be in touch before next week, but Tuesdays we'll be doing this sort of kind of thing, and
yeah, I can take it. Right on. All right, bud. Well, again, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kuya DK, thanks so much again. Always a good time.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome, bud.
I'm going to fry up some food.
Right on.
All right, peace. Talk to you real soon.
Bud. Yeah, take care.